Hey, welcome to Sports and Politics with T. I'm your host, Tanya. Tonight we have made it back to Saturday, guys. Listen, I hope everybody is enjoying their weekend. What a beautiful day this has been. And I'm going to tell you, guys, listen, this month is flying right on out of here. We only got 2 more weeks and it will be September, guys. I'm telling you, back to school is on its way. Kids are starting back probably in another week or two. And after Labor Day, which you know is another week or two, to me, that's the end of the summer. I tell that every year that once Labor Day hits, that's pretty much it for the summer. I mean, it's a good thing because I do kind of like the fall, but at the same time, I like summer too because you can do so much when it's warm and nice. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, guys, we are in the relationship sector. Yes, this is Saturday edition. We are doing some things that's helping people with relationships and just taking questions and answers, things that came in my inbox that I decided to, address and look at certain things. Tonight, we're actually going to talk about what are the top 10 signs of a healthy relationship. That's right, because sometimes you hear about the negative, you hear about the bad, but you don't never really look at the good as far as what it takes, what do you need, and something that I think will help a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, let's give it up for a round of applause. Yes. We are really, really taking it to a whole nother level. And listen, guys, I'm gonna tell you this too. I just got my equipment in, thank God, because it took a couple weeks. It should have been here about 2 weeks ago, but I'm glad that it came. And so my sound quality is a lot better and my lighting. But I was just kind of like, oh, because I wanted it to be, when I started the show, which was August the 4th, which is the second season. But we had a bit of a delay, and as you can see, sometimes you just have to wait. But I'm glad that everything is in now, and hopefully, people can hear me a lot better on the lives and in my recorded videos. Okay. But anyway, guys, listen, let's go ahead and get started for tonight. We are talking about the top 10 signs, you heard it, of a healthy relationship.
Hi, it's your Black therapist, Jenny Dela Cruz. I don't know about y'all, but I'm all about promoting healthy relationships. And so I wanted to give you 10 signs of a healthy relationship. One, mutual respect.
All right, so let's talk about that mutual respect. What does mutual respect mean? It's just pretty much a give and take, Um, you have to have that, it's very important that both sides are respected. Both sides are, how can I say, you understand each other fully. You try to do your very, very best in watering that relationship, depending on the partner, depending on the person that you're with. That's very important. It has to be a two-way street. So many times, a lot of times it's one-sided, but when it's two sides and you got one person giving and the other person receiving, and that person starts to give back and then they receive, that's how things grow. That's how things get better because you're on the same page and you both understand that it is a give and take when it comes to relationships. All right. So, yes, number one, mutual respect, having respect both ways to both sides. Sorry. Let's go on to number two.
Two, honesty.
All right. Number two, honesty, right? Everybody wants honesty. That's very important. Okay. And again, that's a mutual thing. Not just that person giving you honesty, but you have to be honest with them, you know. And I think that um, so many times people hide things in the dark, or they don't want to tell their significant others some things that they're feeling, or they're going through certain things, or they don't feel like their spouse or whoever they're with is going to understand them, So when you're honest and you tell people exactly how you feel, number one, it releases what you've been feeling the whole time. And then when they get it, they can process it and understand, okay, I see where you're coming from. Or if they don't understand or don't want to see it, at least you have released the honesty to them to the point where you gave it your all. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. They have to be honest with you too. If they're giving you some things to think about or some things to, just take in, you be like, oh, okay, I appreciate you telling me that, because sometimes it's hard being honest. I'm not gonna lie. It's it's very, very, very hard. And you want to be respectful. You definitely want to you know, try to get why people feel the way they feel, but that takes being honest. So it's a give and take either way, even with being honesty. I'm the type I like when someone tells me how they feel. I do. I love it. Even if I may not agree, at least I understand where they're coming from. And then they can understand both sides too. They can say, oh, okay, they may not agree, and that's okay. But at the same time, you've let it out, and trust me, that is healthy. When you're able to be honest with who you're with and your whoever you're loving or your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, trust me, when you're able to be honest with them and they can still have that mutual respect, which we just talked about a few minutes ago, that's how you know you're with the one that is meant for you to be. Okay, be with. So, all right. So let's get on with number 3.
Three, trust.
All right. So number 3, trust. Okay, we got to have trust. Again, mutual. All right. They should trust you. You should be able to trust them. But that takes time. It takes time to develop trust. That's not something that I don't feel you can just have right off the bat, because like anything, you have to give it time. And as long as they're having that mutual respect and they're being honest with you, that's when the trust will start building too. It's really hand in hand if you think about it. It to me it's almost like watering a flower. You know, I can plant the seed and hope it grows, but if I don't water it, if I don't put no care to it, if there's no sunshine, guess what? It's not going to grow. It's not going to develop. It's going to stay right there in the ground, you know. So that's why it's very important to be able to have that mutual trust. If that person is going through something and you don't know what it is, listen. Until they give you a reason not to trust them, you should trust them, right? And vice versa. If I haven't given a reason, same thing. You know, I think it's really important that again, that mutual respect. And I'm gonna keep going back to the last two because mutual respect and honesty is what builds the trust. So as you can see, I'm still going back to those other two topics because they come hand in hand. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, let's keep on going to number 4.
Four, empathy.
Empathy. Yes, let's give it up. Empathy. Empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is basically just having a heart, having a ear to understand and to feel a person, you know. Um, and that takes time too to develop that. Some things you're just not going to agree, okay? But even if you don't agree, there should be a level of empathy where you can say, okay, I can kind of see what they're saying to a degree. Okay. Now you're putting yourself in a position where you're trying to understand. You're not so close to the point where it's my way or the highway and that's it. That's dangerous and that's very poisonous. Um, Empathy, showing that not a sympathy sort of thing, but it's more of trying to just understand where they're coming from. You know, if your spouse come in with a bad day and they tell you, yeah, I had this bad boss or I had this bad coworker and X, Y, and Z, and I tell you it was just rough today. Number one, that spouse is listening but there also should be empathetic because they should know, okay, that for what they do, they're probably in a pressured type job or they're in a pressured position where a lot of stuff is thrown at them constantly, right? Or even if they're not in that type of position, if your friend or your significant other is talking with you, first of all, that's a compliment within itself because they're letting you know they trust you, number one, and they feel like you're going to have empathy, you're going to have honesty, and it's a sort of a release for them. You know, it's almost like I can actually talk to someone that actually listens, that actually gets me, and vice versa. They can come to me if, for whatever reason, they could sit down and say, you know what, I just had a bad day today, or this was just not good, or X, Y, and Z, da 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 da. Da. And they're not quick to just be upset if something don't go their way, or they didn't like how something came off, or whatever the reason is, right? So again, empathy, just taking the time to understand why that person is feeling the way they're feeling. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's a mutual respect. It's a two-way street. It ain't just me saying it to them, it's them saying it to me too. You know, if they having a bad day, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, really? Oh, wow. I'm so sorry. Honey, do something I can help you with, or is there something that bothering you, or something you need to tell me, or you're not yourself lately today, or X, Y, and Z." They know now that you're paying attention to them, right? You're you're taking more notice of how they feel. Okay. Again, empathy. Very, 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 very important. All right, guys. So let's get on for number 5.
Five, boundaries.
Boundaries. Let's give it up. Yes. So boundaries. So important. We talked about that last weekend when we talked about the top 5 signs of cheating. Why you should have some boundaries in your relationship. Well, it's just like anything. If you don't have boundaries, then things can be chaotic. Things can get out of control. Things can get out of hand, right? It's just like if I'm driving and there's no median or there's no guardrails. Those are boundaries, right? You have to stay in that lane. Again, stay in your lane. So when it comes to relationships, same thing. There's got to be some boundaries because, and I'm not saying boundaries in a bad way. I'm saying boundaries so that everything is together. You're flowing in the right direction together. You're trying to work on things together, and you're both on the same path, trying to get to that destination, right? Which is a good relationship. But that's the thing. It's it's a mutual respect still. Still got to be honest, even with the boundaries. You still got to have trust, and you still got to be empathetic. But now, when the boundaries come, that's to make sure that, first of all, you're both on the same page. That's it. In a nutshell, you both know what each other like, what you don't like, and you have that mutual respect to the point where you're like, okay, all right, I'm not going to do this because X, Y, Z. Or maybe we can come to a compromise because I may not see it all your way, but I don't want to just be all my way either. We can compromise. And that's very important. Compromise is key. It's a key factor. If a person is not willing to do that, it's going to be tough. So I'm just keeping it real. It's just going to be tough because it's too one sided at that point. Everything has got to be done their way or your way or whoever else's way, and it's got to be a compromise. Two-way street again, mutual respect. Boundaries is just like you say, it's just in place to make sure that both of you are going in the right direction and that y'all are both on the same page. All right, guys. So let's get on to number 6.
Six, space for individuality.
Yes, space for individuality. Listen, now every once in a while, you just don't want to be bothered, right? I know I get like that. I'm a homebody sometimes myself. And there's times where I just want to be left alone. There's times where I just want to um, have my head to clear on some things. And sometimes you just don't want a whole lot of communication, even from outside people and even from the people that you're in relationship with. Okay. It's not a bad thing when someone wants to, just have that time to reflect or, clear their thoughts or whatever. But the issue is when it is that communication has to be spoken, and that's where empathy has to come in because you have to understand why that person is needing to break away or, because if not, if there's nothing said, guess what? Then a lot of things can be misconstrued or a lot of things can be misinterpreted. Um, and they're not going to understand if there's no communication. You know what I'm saying? So again, setting that boundary, making sure everybody's on the same page. Okay. Mutual respect and trust. That is so powerful within itself, guys. I'm telling you, that's a healthy relationship. I don't care what the world say. I don't care what, man says. I only care about what God says. Okay. And trust me, before I get on platform, guys, you got to understand, I pray before I get on this mic. Okay. I ask God to tell me or show me what I need to say to the people that I'm speaking to. So the people that needs to hear it is going to resonate. And the ones that don't, it don't. Okay. That's my goal. My goal is to be a light and to shed as much light as I possibly can, but also to take reflection on myself too. Trust me, this is something that even for me, I try to incorporate and try to look at, okay, you know what? I think I need to do a better job in this, or I need to do a better job in that. I'm always trying to better myself in some, form or fashion. No one all has it all together. Nobody. Okay. And if they say they do, that's a lie. Okay. Everybody is in a work in progress. Everybody, whether they're single or they're in a marriage or they're boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever, every individual is on a work in progress, right? Nobody's going to be perfect. Nobody's going to have it all together or all figured out. But the goal is to try, and to do what you can to be the best person you can be. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, guys. So let's get on with number 7.
7, intimacy.
Intimacy. Yes, that's very, very important. Intimacy. Now, healthy relationships. That's what we're talking about tonight. Why intimacy is very important. Okay. Um, Number one, you have to have that because that's another form of love. Number one, and just showing love and affection. I mean, yes, you can talk all day, right? But there's got to be some type of physical contact with your partner, spouse, or whoever you're with, uh, to the degree where they understand that you love them. Okay. And I know people think intimacy is not important. It is important, very important. Okay. I'm not saying it's the most important, but it is a piece where people shouldn't take lightly on that. Just like communication is very important. Just like being honest is very important. All that stuff goes hand in hand, no matter who it is, right? So again, just having that bond time, that alone time, that love making time, that sex time, that what the intimacy is what makes you grow even closer because without intimacy, you pretty much are just friends if you think about it. Intimacy is what sets it apart from any other relationship. If you're not intimate, then you're basically just casual friends or you're just casual whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say that's very important. that's really to me the deciding factor of going to another level in your relationship, is when you're becoming close with the one that you love. All right. All right, guys. So let's keep it going to number 8.
Eight, open communication.
Open communication. Yes, I love it. See, listen, I'm a talker anyway, and anybody that knows that, they know that girl can talk. She don't need no script. She don't need no cue cards. She don't need to look down at anything to say. I'm right off the cuff. Any video I do is coming from the top of my head every single time. You know why? Because I want to be authentic. I don't want to have something telling me what I need to say, or somebody telling me in my ear what I need to say. No, when I'm speaking, it's very important for me, to uh, say what's on your heart, what's on your mind, but also just be open to people's outtakes on stuff. That's why on my shows, if you notice, I always say, if there's some things that y'all want to see or some things you want to talk about, hit me up in my comment section. And the reason why I say that on my videos is because I like to get feedback. I like communication from people and just looking at things from different angles so that I can approach things from different angles. I don't want it to be just what I'm thinking and what I'm saying. And it may come across that way. But no, I welcome people, just telling me how they feel, or if there's a problem and they say, I really need some advice on this. Now, some things I can't really give a lot of advice, like especially marriage type stuff, because I've never been married. Okay. But when it comes to relationships or, things like that, then yes, because I've, that's something through time and age, I've got, experience in that. So yes, I can definitely steer you in the right direction on that part. But yeah, that's why I welcome it. I welcome it. I love it. And even if you're in a relationship, same thing. I'd love to hear how that person feels or what they're going through, or so just being open, not closed, but being open, because the more open you are, the more vulnerable you do become. But at the same time, you're releasing what's been festered in this whole time. And sometimes it's not healthy to keep things inside too, especially if there's things that's bothering you. You know what I'm saying? Or not necessarily if it's not bothering you. It might be some stuff that's just on your heart. You may really love someone, or you may really like someone. You're like, God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've been thinking about this. Should I or shouldn't I? Should I or shouldn't I? Nah, I'm not gonna say nothing. What if I get rejected? What if this happens? What if this happens? Honey, the only way you're gonna know, and I know I'm talking to somebody out there. The only way you're gonna know is if you muster up enough courage to put yourself out there a little bit, okay? Because without talking, you gotta say how you feel. If you don't say how you feel, that person is just not gonna know, or they may think something might be there, but they're not quite sure. So that's part of love too, is keeping yourself open, or opening yourself up to a degree. You know what I'm saying? And that's again on both sides. So all right, guys. So let's move on to number 9.
Support. And 10, safety.
All right. So 9 is support, and I think she said number 10 is safety. So yes, number 9. Let's talk about support. You want to have a supportive uh, person that's with you. If they are with you through the trenches, okay. If they're with you through the bad times, guess what? They can weather the storm with you. Okay. You don't want someone to just be there in the good times and that's it. No. They have to be in there in the long haul. Okay. And if they're not, that's something you may have to again communicate and say, hey, because for me, I'm in it for the long haul. Okay. Unless you tell me otherwise, or if there's really a bad issue, I'm in it for the long haul. Now, that person may not. And you got to respect that. but again, if you've already had that mutual respect in the beginning and you were honest in the beginning, then it won't come as a surprise in the end because you already paved the way for that relationship. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I say support. That person should back you 100% if they are really feeling you or really love you, and vice versa. You should be backing them 100%, right? Even when no one else is, your support should be top priority. You should be number one there. If nobody else ain't there, you should be there, right? So that's very, very important. And like she said, number 10 is safety. You have to feel safe around the person you're with, okay? Um, if you feel unsafe with someone that you're involved with, that's not the person you need to be with. Okay. If they're abusive or they're, constantly just angry or, like I said, abusive and things like that, no, that's not healthy. Okay. And I wouldn't want anybody to stay in a relationship like that. All right. So when you start seeing signs like that, that's when it's time to get out of that. Okay. But because we're wanting to be in a healthy relationship, and healthy relationships means that you feel safe with the person that you're with. All right. And they feel safe around you too. Again, mutual respect. Mutual respect. It's a two-way street. Let's give it up for the show for tonight. Yes, yes, yes. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it on tonight, but I wanted to talk about the top 10 signs of a healthy relationship. I thought this was very important to highlight tonight because, again, we always hear the negative. We always hear about, being played and, cheating and all that. But what does it take to have a great relationship, a long lasting relationship? And I feel like these top 10 signs definitely will help the situation at hand. All right. All right, guys. So I will be back on Monday. Join me with Sports and Politics with T at 8 p.m. We're going to get back into the political factor. And also, we're going to cover some sports as well. Yes, we're not letting the sports go, guys. No, that's a huge, huge element. And I'm going to be delivering that more and more starting this week because NFL season has begun. I've already posted the scores on my shorts, and we'll be posting more scores this coming Tuesday. I always wait till Tuesday to get all the games for the previous week, and I post those on my shorts as well. So y'all check it out. We're going to be covering some actually live NFL games too. Okay, so we're not going to just do scores, but we're actually going to cover some highlights as well. All right. All right, guys. So I will see y'all Monday at 8 p.m. If you enjoyed this content, please hit like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you can, please hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss any episodes every time I come on to YouTube. All right. I welcome it. And I thank y'all for all the support. See y'all again at 8 p.m. Take care. Bye-bye.